I recently found out that the threshold for low income in San Francisco is over $100,000 a year. So I'm going to go on the opposite direction of that. And I'm going to tell you guys who are maybe struggling in big cities or like in America, for example, with a fairly decent salary worldwide, where you can actually live in Europe for 100,000 euros a month. So let's talk first about Western Europe. And you might think, as most people would, that in Western Europe it's a little bit more expensive and you probably wouldn't be able to actually live on under 1,000 euros a month. But I do believe there's one country in particular where you might be able to do that, and it's not Spain and it's not Portugal, it's actually Italy. Italy has a huge divergence between its northern, more wealthy part and its southern and poorer part. So if you go to South Italy, if you go to Naples, if you go to Pescara even, which is more or less in the middle, you could possibly live on 1,000 euros a month in a fairly comfortable position, because rent isn't actually too expensive, and then groceries in Italy and just general living are actually quite affordable. And on top of that, you're in a beautiful country, you're very connected to the rest of Europe, right in the middle, with actually pretty good weather, at least 8 or 9 months out of the year. The summer might be a little rough, but other than that, you'll be fine. Now going to Eastern Europe, you're actually going to find a bunch of cities that you could realistically live in for under 1,000 euros a month. The first one that I'm going to mention is definitely Budapest. First of all, because it's just such a beautiful up and coming city, and then second, because when I was in the hostel there, I actually met travelers who were staying in the hostel a little bit more long term, and they were paying 400 euros a month. I think that was for April 23 or something like that. So, well, imagine 400 euros a month, and that is rent, breakfast, and dinner. So you're pretty much set, right? On 400 euros a month, and then you have another 600 euros to just discretionary spending, I guess. And then even if you don't want to stay in a hostel, you could realistically rent like a small apartment or something for definitely well under 1,000 euros, and then just use the extra for food and that kind of stuff. Also, Budapest is just so well located. Like, it's right in the middle of Europe. You can go to Vienna, you're going to go to Bratislava. Prague is not too far, Krakow is not too far, and you can also go south to other countries in Eastern Europe. So it's definitely a city to consider if you want to live pretty well and still top off at 1,000 euros a month. Still in Eastern Europe, but a little further south, a city I would definitely consider as well is Sarajevo, is in Bosnia. It's probably the single cheapest city that I've been to in Europe, and it's just got a lot of value for your money. It's definitely more quiet. I think it's like fairly small compared to other European capitals, and it definitely has a small city vibe. But you could realistically live there on 1,000 euros a month in a fairly comfortable way. Their currency is different, so your money is always going to go a little further than most countries that use the euro, and it is more of a quiet vibe. But if you like history, if you like art, there's a lot of museums, there's a lot of history there to be unpacked, and the people are absolutely lovely. Another country you could live in on under 1,000 euros a month is definitely Romania. When I was in Bucharest and also in Brasov, I was actually surprised with the fact that the infrastructure was quite decent. Maybe not yet at the level of Western Europe, but it's definitely catching up. And despite this good infrastructure, and despite being the EU, it doesn't actually use the euro. So things are fairly affordable, and I could definitely see myself living there, even maybe more than Sarajevo, because it's a little bit more lively. It's got a little bit more. It feels a little bit more modern, more well taken care of. Also, being in the Schengen area now, it's definitely going to be easier to move around Europe as well. So it definitely is a city to consider. The country I'm going to talk about is Albania. I've heard that for Americans, for example, or for people who don't have EU citizenship and need like a place to stay for a little bit longer, maybe than 3 months, Albania is outside the EU, and it has very easy visas that you can actually apply for to stay there longer. So it could be a country for you to like pass by and use as a base. Tirana is very well connected in terms of flights to the rest of Europe, so you are gonna have to go through customs just because it's not actually in Schengen, it's not in the EU, but it's still a very good hub and a very good point for you to travel around Europe, and also insanely cheap. Again, different currency, lovely beaches. In Skoder up north, the lake is absolutely beautiful. It's got some very nice medieval structures as well. There's a castle there, and Tirana is not the most exciting city. city in a sense, but it's very nice. It's walkable. People are lively. It's got great Greek food. It's full of Greek food, and yeah, it could be a good hub if you want a little bit more underground place in a way.